talk about. I have two other things. We don't have a ton of time, but
And it's all about the respect.
we've got the Tucker got his hands on the January 6th footage from. We've also got Dominion lawsuit, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
How they were able to get all the texts from them and the,
I love that
discovery. It's really good. I'll show you guys the text.
Tucker.
We can go through the January 6th footage really quickly if you want, like, because that's not as long as a there's not as long as a video or anything like that. You can just like show.
This one's actually really easy, and let's just do this one, and then we'll do that one because if we run out of time, I think this won't be easier.
Tucker.
It's easy to set up. So Dominion is the voting system that Trump, Fox News, and Newsmax and all these guys were saying their machines are not safe, and they helped facilitate the rigging of the election. Now, Dominion is suing all those people, specifically Fox News, for $1.9 billion in damages. And defamation lawsuits, as I've said on the show many times, are very, very hard because you have to prove essentially that the person defaming you knew what they were saying is wrong. And, many times you just don't have the kind of evidence to support that kind of a finite claim. But what's happening with this Dominion lawsuit is really interesting. In the process of discovery, they obtained text messages from Tucker. They got text messages from
Murdoch.
They got text messages from that other big head guy,
Hannity,
yeah, and also the
Laura Ingraham.
Yeah,
all the executives is a star-studded cast. It's wonderful to see them in private and the way that they discuss these matters. And the disdain that they kind of have for their audience, like
it's so cynical.
They're completely aware that they are, they're posturing on television to an audience of fucking baboons.
They're knowingly lying.
Yeah,
it's so,
and they know how
cynical.
stupid their fan base is.
Alaskan Bullworm wants to know why your haircut makes your head look normally proportioned.
Oh hell yeah! Thank you so much for that. I paid that person.
Yeah, is that you?
That was you, bro.
Yeah, that was me. I was tweeting it from my phone.
Yeah, so here on Trump's business history, as votes were being counted in 2020 presidential election, Mr. Carlson texted one of his producers, fretting about viewers turning away from Fox News after the network called Arizona for President Biden. The producer said Trump has a pretty low rate of success in his business ventures. Tucker Carlson responded, "That's for sure. All of them fail. What he's good at is destroying things. He's the undisputed world champion of that," Tucker said of Trump. Continuing on Trump's plan to skip Biden's inauguration, a staff member texted Carlson to say they'd heard Mr. Trump was planning to not attend the inauguration, an important symbol of the peaceful transfer of power. Carlson said, "I'd heard that about the inauguration. Hard to believe. It's so destructive. It's disgusting. I'm trying to look away," he said of Trump not going to Biden's inauguration.
Yeah.
He's almost like a normal guy behind the scenes.
No, it's funny because
it's like that's what I think.
No, he's not a normal guy. Here's why I love that. Because I, unlike yourself, am infinitely more cynical about the American government and also all this symbolic shit, right? And what it means. So I don't care. Ultimately, I'll talk about how crazy it is and how funny it is, but deep down inside, I don't really give a shit, right? But it's funny that Tucker Carlson, on the other hand, is such a civility liberal after all, even though he himself is a devastating WASP nationalist who cuts racial agitprop every fucking night in a very successful way, if I may add. Deep down inside, he's still oh, I can't believe he's not doing the symbolic stuff, though. You're undermining the integrity of the American institutions. Please.
But if you could go to his broadcast for that night, I'm pretty sure he'd be like, why should President Trump go to the inauguration when there's so many questions about the legitimacy of the election?
Well, he's literally doing that right now.
Number 3, on his interaction with Trump's team over Sidney Powell, the psychotic Trump lawyer, he texted with Fox News' Laura Ingraham about Sidney Powell, a lawyer for Mr. Trump. and one of the biggest promoters of the election fraud claim. Carlson said, I had to try to make the White House disavow her, which they obviously should have done a long time. Of course, she was a guest on his show several times. Laura Ingraham said no serious lawyer could believe what they were saying. Carlson says, but they said nothing in public, pretty disgusting. And now Trump, I learned this morning, is sitting back and letting them lose the Senate. He doesn't care. I care. It's like they're saying behind the scenes how much he cares about doing the right thing, but then he goes on his show and does the opposite of how he personally feels.
No. He doesn't care about doing the right thing. Understand this. Tucker Carlson ultimately is a rich guy.
Yeah.
Right? He might have legitimate, like, ideological reasons for why he's promoting, fascist ideas and concepts.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, as a rich guy, he cares about just, maintaining his wealth and serving the even richer guys that pay him hundreds of millions of dollars. So Donald Trump, in certain instances, when he does stuff like this, when he undermines the integrity of the American institutions, is actually presenting a danger to the way things are for wealthy people. Because if the system collapses entirely, then all of a sudden, the super rich guys are not going to be able to turn profit in the same way that they are able to right now. It's always better to not fully starve out the population and give them some breadcrumbs to make them feel comfortable in their existence than it is to truly undermine the entire system, let it crumble. Because when you undermine the entire system and let it crumble as it stands currently, when there's still profit to be made, you're going to give up on a lot of your amenities, a lot of your.
But if I guess you could say more specifically, he's going against his own interests when he goes on the show and, goes with the talking points. But he goes on, this is about the aftermath of the Capitol riots. After the riots at the Capitol on January 6th, Mr. Carlson texts with Mr. Pfeiffer. Who's the Pfeiffer? Is that a producer?
Yeah, that's the producer.
Okay. About Mr. Trump's culpability in the insurrection, how to deal with viewers who still support him. This was 2 weeks before Biden's inauguration. Carlson says, Trump has 2 weeks left. Once he's out, he'll become incalculably less powerful, even in the minds of his supporters. Carlson continues, he's a demonic force, a destroyer, but he's not going to destroy us. I've been thinking about this every day for 4 years. Pfeiffer says, you're right. I don't want to let him destroy me either. The Trump anger spiral is vicious. Carlson says, that's for sure. It's deadly. It almost consumed me in November when Sidney Powell attacked us. It was very difficult to regain emotional control, but I knew I had to. We've got 2 weeks left. We can do this. What these conversations are so ridiculous, too.
Well, Tucker Carlson, shouts out to Roger Ailes, rest in piss. But Fox News as an institution was designed deliberately to be the propaganda arm of the Republican Party and the Republican interests, right? So Tucker Carlson having this conversation in private is hilarious to me because this is the exact same conversation that is happening in every circle in the Republican Party. Because the party machine currently has these two conflicting forces. They have geared up the base to be more and more extremist, right? Because the culture war is the only thing that keeps people going out to the polls, keeps people going out and voting because you're not offering them any sort of material restitution. You're not offering them anything. You're not offering them health care. You're not offering them financial freedom or anything like that. So how do you make work the deregulation narrative? How do you make work the tax cuts for the wealthy narrative? You shift the attention away, you pump up the American dream rhetoric, and then you shift the attention away from the genuine damaging impacts that this kind of attitude has, this Reaganism attitude has on the economy as a whole, and you focus on marginal issues, culture war issues, and you create this culture war agenda. And you constantly have to push that button over and over again, and people demand more and more and more. So now you've gotten to a place where Donald Trump sees all of that and reads the room very well and is able to communicate the culture war narratives without the dog whistles, really. That's why he's so appealing. But when you do that, when you rush to your base of support that hard, you will cause instability. Like Donald Trump, in many respects, was a victim of his own success.
Yeah.
The reason why the Republican Party is currently suffering electorally is because they caved to the demands of a hyper-vigilant, violent, extremist base of support that they have in the form of white Protestants, right? They make up a tiny percentage. Well, not tiny, but not a large enough percentage to like win elections nationally. But they capitulated to them. They created the Federalist Society. They set it up and designed systems to specifically concede to their demands. And once they got those demands, which were inherently anti-democratic, and the only way to achieve them was going against the wishes of the majority, when they did that so brazenly, all of a sudden people are like, what the fuck? I'm conservative, but like, I have a daughter. And God forbid, what if she needs to get an abortion? I'm conservative, but I'm seeing young women all around the country who are not able to get medical procedures from their doctors because the doctors are afraid that they're going to go to jail when they have and they're forced to give like stillbirth abortion. I mean, when they're forced to give birth to a stillbirth fetus, right?
Yeah. This was my favorite one, by the way. And I'm wondering if Trump, I feel like, has to respond to this. He goes, on his desire to move on from Trump, Carlson said, Mr. Carlson texts with members of his staff 2 months after the 2020 election and 2 days before the insurrection at the Capitol building and looking forward to not having to cover Mr. Trump. Carlson said, we are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait. He says, he continues, I hate him passionately. Carlson says he hates Trump passionately. And so I wonder if Trump's going to respond to that. But what's interesting about this is that you have proof, hard evidence, of Fox News pundits saying exactly the opposite of what they're saying on the air. And it's interesting that it's turning out that they have a very compelling case of defamation, Dominion voting. So, they might actually win. They might actually win that 1.9 billion.
That'd be so sick. I mean, it's hard because like, I don't know how much money Dominion has, but like, I know Fox News has like great lawyers. This is an open and shut defamation case, but it's still very difficult to win those. So unless you're Johnny Depp.
So they're shopping for judges right now.
Yeah.
The Fox News ones. They're trying to find like super conservative judges who are like Fox News watchers and stuff, trying to find sympathetic.
It's not going to be that hard.
No, it's not. It's not going to be that hard.
Fox Corporation has $4 billion cash on hand. God
That's
damn,
awesome.
Dude.
These motherfuckers got a bank account with $4 billion in it.
Yeah.
Love that for them.
Yeah, we got more here at the Leftovers
20.
compound. We got
Easy.
20, but like, I mean, they're broke boys, but
I just can't get over again. We always talk about how lucrative the grift is, and I just so happy for them.
Yeah.
They were able to make it,
But going back to the Tucker Carlson thing, like, there is a dual interest here, right? On the one hand, they don't want to rock the boat too hard, but they have to hammer on the volatility. They have to hammer on the violent narratives, right? But on the other hand, they don't want to rock the boat too hard because, like, they still want to make money. They still want to live in comfort, right? And that's the issue. That's the reason why he has to toe this delicate line of, like, immigrants are dirty and need to be purged from this country, while simultaneously not saying it too much, like not going too kooky with the election narratives, which is why, and this is a decent segue, I think, back to the other video, Tucker Carlson recently came out with the January 6th footage.
I do want to tell you we have about 3 minutes before.
That's fine. The only thing I'm going to say is this.
You want me to pull it up?
Tucker Carlson was sent 41,000 hours of footage from Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
So that they could comb through 41,000 hours of footage. And Tucker Carlson cherry-picked through 41,000 hours of footage, I think like around 5 minutes, of the January 6th insurrectionists like walking around peacefully and with the cops like walking them in and
Here
stuff.
it is. Here's the footage that they showed.
Yeah, you can even play it as like B-roll in the background with no audio.
Yeah, go ahead.
And for some weird reason, this is like a narrative that works for a lot of these fucking absolute morons that like 5 minutes of footage on a very public event that we all watched happened 2 fucking years ago, live on national television, on my fucking Twitch channel, through probably a million different fucking angles, because there's so many cameras there, so much CCTV footage, but also because the fucking idiots that were doing this shit were literally filming themselves doing it. You know what I mean? Because they didn't think they would get any punishments for it. They didn't think what they were doing was wrong. But I guess turns out like 5 minutes of peacefully walking through can make up for the 41,000 other hours of them being violent and psychotic. One of the key moments that I love in this is that they talk about how like the police were basically guiding them around, and I'm like, yeah, no shit, because you know cops are fucking they love the hogs. It's like pig on pig violence. Ultimately, they are one the same, and that is precisely the reason why they were walking them around. Just
here it is. Here's the footage that apparently is a smoking gun of the
like. Why is this a smoking gun? We saw cops take selfies with motherfuckers literally on January 6th. Like I was covering it live.
I'm confused because when I see footage of the cops escorting them into the chambers of Congress, I think that, oh yeah, well the police are also, as we knew,
hogs. Pigs.
Yeah, they're also like fascist, racist
pigs.
freaks. So I don't understand how this footage supports their narrative. I'm confused by it.
I think they're implying that like there's this other underlying narrative, because they threw a lot of shit at the wall to see what stuck. Basically,
I do wonder what the fuck are these cops doing?
First they said it was Antifa. But then they were like, but also they shouldn't go to jail, even though they're fucking Antifa, apparently, right? So then that didn't stick. So now they're like, oh, the January 6th insurrectionists are political prisoners that must be freed. Now they're prison abolitionists. They read Angela Davis.
Why are they taking this guy straight to the chamber and opening the door for him?
I think it's partially because they were scared. I think that's what one of the cops testified at the when the committee brought him up to the stand. I think he was like afraid of like what these guys might do, because he was walking around with like with a flagpole.
But there's like a whole mess.
And they are terrified pussies, so that does make sense.
True.
There actually is an explanation for why they were doing this.
Tell me.
That the cops gave is that the defendant challenged the U.S. Capitol officer to let them pass, ultimately using his bullhorn to rile up the crowd and demand the lawmakers be brought out. They entered the chambers, the officer falling behind them until there was sufficient law enforcement presence to clear out the room. So the thing is they cut off what they show is this footage.
There's a ton of people already,
because all the cops are outside trying to stop the crowd. There's only a few inside. These people get in. There's way more of them than there are cops. So they just try and de-escalate, and they're like, yeah, okay, just here, I'll show you around. They wait for backup, and then right after all of the footage that Tucker showed, a bunch more cops show up. They round everybody up and arrest them. And move them.
Which, by the way, some of these guys have zip ties and shit. That's also, they're not there to be peaceful.
This shot, I was like, well, there's like 10 cops here in riot.
So here's the thing. Well, here's the thing, though. Here's what I will say. The reason why what they're trying to say basically is that cop that died of seizures like the next day, he was not hurt, is what they're trying to say. He died for unrelated causes, which I think is pretty funny for them to like do this like, ACAB style, cop murder is fine when we do it narrative, which is pretty funny. But also, I think they're trying to imply that like, I'm sure you've heard this narrative. Nancy Pelosi purposefully refused to bring in the National Guard, and Nancy Pelosi is the reason why the Capitol was not protected on that day, which again still shows that like that doesn't eliminate the fact that like these violent hogs were behaving in this violent way. You know what I mean? Like even if the cops weren't there, like that's insane. What they did was completely illegal and unacceptable.
So the part they don't show is that there's already a bunch of rioters inside the chamber. I'm assuming.
That's what that footage is, him walking to the chamber, and yeah,
He wasn't the first one in there.
no,
So that makes sense if there's like a angry mob inside.
yeah, they were
Also-
like trickling in.
I don't know.
through broken windows.
But I also don't have a hard time believing that some of the cops were sympathetic to them.
Probably.
Yes, they were. They were taking selfies with them,
Yeah.
Ethan.
Yeah,
They were taking
exactly.
selfies with them on the day of. I talked about this a lot.
To me, all it says is that the police were
Are
sympathetic to them.
Yes, the
That's what I
Capitol
see.
Police is notorious for like beating the shit out of disabled people in wheelchairs and stuff whenever they have the audacity to protest outside of fucking Nancy Pelosi's office. So these guys aren't exactly good guys either. Okay,
So-
I hate this like mainstream media narrative of like our hero cops were not being sucked off by the conservative movement today and they were being attacked viciously. But like these guys are pieces of shit too. Okay, they're not nice.
So the thing, I guess there's a movement to free the January 6th patriots. And I guess this is part of that, where they're like, they didn't even force their way in. They were escorted.
Mm-hmm.
So they want
Set up as a frame job.
They want to
Trap.
free the January 6th heroes. That's crazy. Yeah. So there's a ton of people in there.
Yeah, they're like they were doing a peaceful prayer. Like that's what they're making it seem like. Yeah, brother. They were definitely they were there for peaceful reasons. They made it seem like it was like a tourist day at the Capitol, which I think is hilarious because again, this level of like reality denial is unimaginable to me, but I guess like the American conservative movement is at this level of cognitive dissonance that they will genuinely deny what they saw, which is not that surprising when you consider if you've ever talked to someone who is a conservative who went to the fucking Capitol on January 6th, and I know people that have, they literally still say it was peaceful. It was actually peaceful, and also it was Antifa. I'm like, bro, you were there.
There's
like you were.
videos.
Are you Antifa?
There's videos of them. It's weird. It's like
Everybody
it's all
but
there.
them.
Yeah, so I have to leave, but I'll just read this statement from the Capitol Police Chief. He said, the program conveniently cherry picks from the calmer moments of our 41,000 hours of video to incorrectly portray the violent assault as more akin to a peaceful protest. He added that Carlson's commentary fails to provide context about the chaos and violence that happened before or during these less tense moments. All right, I got to go. Thank you, Hassan. Nice to have you back. God bless. I know you're not happy about it, but I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. This was great.
And
It's all good. we're gonna take leftovers to Japan soon. It's all good.
okay, yeah,
On
run and
Ethan's
gun
dime.
style.
Ethan's gonna pay for it. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a great.
I'll
time.
go with Hila and just one camera. It'll be great. Just
Right, I'll
both
operate
times.
that camera, and no problem.
No,
I'll be happy to.
No, you won't. It's fine. Hila's got it.
She's gonna be busy. She's gonna be pregnant. She can't.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back on Friday, which is tomorrow, for After Dark. Peace and love. Peace and love. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.